Hello everyone. Coming back to the next part of the chapter, crop production and management. In the previous part we had discussed till fertilizers and manure adding to the crops for their better development and growth. And now in this section we will look into rest of the other agricultural practices. So the next step after adding manure and fertilizer, as you can see, is irrigation. What is irrigation? Irrigation is nothing but adding water or providing the water supply to the plants. Just like any living organisms, plants also need water on a regular basis for their activities like the food production, that is photosynthesis, and also to stay alive they also need water and other nutrients. Okay. Now we will watch a video regarding the traditional methods of irrigation. In irrigation there are actually two methods, the previous methods which were used traditionally and now the modern methods. So now we will have a look into the traditional methods of irrigation first.
Why do plants need water? The same reasons for which humans need water. Water constitutes a major part of the plant body. This water helps plants to transport the nutrients in their body and is quite important for the growth of the plant. How do plants get their water? The roots help the plant absorb the water from the soil. It indicates that moist soil would mean a continuous supply of water to plants. Do you know that the plants need water right from their germination? Have you heard people say that the seeds will wither away if there is no water? After sowing, seeds need water to germinate, and that's precisely why farmers sow seeds before the rains. But what if there are no rains? How do plants then get water? Irrigation is the solution to this problem. The supply of water to crops at specific intervals is known as irrigation. We need to understand that plants need water more than anything else. Water acts as a shield against the extremities of nature like frost or hot currents. No doubt, water is of foremost importance to the crop. That is why we will study irrigation as a process of production. Do you know what irrigation depends on? Can you guess? Yes, it depends on the soil type. And what according to you will the frequency of irrigation depend on? Can you guess? Yes, it does depend on the season. During summer, soil is devoid of moisture. This is because the heat leads to a higher rate of evaporation. That is why we need to irrigate the fields frequently during the summer months. During the monsoons, there is a little need for irrigation. Now let us look at the sources of irrigation. What are the sources of irrigation? Ponds, wells, lakes, dams, rivers are various water bodies that help supply water for irrigation. However, the methods of irrigation have changed over the years. In irrigation, water is lifted from water bodies and then carried to the fields. In the traditional method, who do you think does the work of lifting the water? It's the cattle or humans who lift water from these sources. These methods were inexpensive for the farmers, but were not quite efficient. Let us take a quick look at a few traditional methods of irrigation first. We will look at the moat or pulley system, a chain pump, dekli, and rahat, which is a lever system. The first system is where water is pulled out of water source with the help of a pulley. The pulley can be moved in several ways to then carry the bucket of water to different places in the field. But this kind of irrigation requires human labor. There is also another problem of uneven distribution of water. Thus, this type of irrigation is less efficient. What about the next type? A chain pump? This is an interesting method. A bucket is tied to a wheel and this wheel is pulled by a chain. bucket. This bucket then pours the water out when it comes onto the top. Water then flows into the field in the man-made canal-like system. Here as well, human labor may be required to pull the chain. What about the Digley? This system of irrigation requires two people or a load needs to be kept attached to the log. Which log? Can you see that V-shaped log is fixed to the ground in an erect manner? Now there is another log that is placed between its forked branch. This log has a bucket attached to one end. When the log is moved, it helps lower the bucket and get a bucket full of water from the well. This water is then dropped into a narrow canal-like system that waters the fields. This method leads to wastage of water. Now what about the last system? The Rahat system? This is a 1,300-year-old method of irrigation which now is almost extinct. This one requires two wheels. One wheel is attached with several buckets all around its circumference and is placed halfway inside the water body. The other is placed on the ground with a rod attached to it. This rod is placed horizontally. It can be made to move in a circle. Usually, cattle are made to operate the system. Humans do it at times too. When the rod is moved in a circular manner, it rotates the two wheels in turn. The wheel which is inside the water body collects water into the buckets and deposits it onto the surface. Canal-like systems then carry the water to different parts of the field. Wasn't this wonderful to learn? But do these methods exist even today? Well, we'll find that out in our next lesson. There we will study the modern methods of irrigation.
So therefore, you have understood the traditional methods of irrigation and how they were carried out. But the main problem in all these methods were that firstly they were operated either by human or by animals. So therefore, it was not a automatic system which did not require any human effort or effort by or labored by any animal. Second of all is that when we consider large fields, so then such methods would have been very much inefficient. They are not fully trusted for the even distribution of water to all the plants of a certain crop. So therefore, we have now shifted to the modern methods of irrigation in order to eradicate all such problems of traditional methods of irrigation. Now here you have understood the traditional methods, and now we will have a look into the modern methods of irrigation consisting of the sprinkler system and the drip system. These were the traditional methods. Now the modern methods. See, in the modern methods is the sprinkler system. It consists of perpendicular pipes which is positioned in the fields, and on the top of perpendicular pipes there lie the rotating nozzles which will rotate and supply water surrounding the pipe. You can watch this in this image. So therefore, all the crops, all the plants surrounding the perpendicular pipe or the sprinkler system as a whole will be irrigated at a time. And also you can see one thing, that they are positioned at a regular interval. So by calculating the distance or the area that a single sprinkler system will cover, accordingly the next sprinkler system is positioned so that there is no over irrigation or under irrigation. Understood? And the next thing is the drip system. What is this drip system? Parallel pipes are laid down. You can see this, the pipes. This is the main channel of water, and parallel pipes have been bifurcated from this main channel of water, and each carrying water from this main channel, and the parallel pipes have the holes, and actually holes from which water drips directly at the roots of the crop. So, in this way each plant of the crop will be watered evenly, and also it will ensure that they get the optimum amount of water, neither less nor more. So, since crop is something that all the plants are of similar kind, so we can say that the water necessity or the water requirement will also be almost the same. So, therefore, keeping that in mind, this drip system works or fits very well in this idea of evenly distributing water to the field for irrigation purpose. So, now we will see a video first of this modern methods of irrigation, then before moving into the next section.
What did we learn in the last lesson? Traditional methods of irrigation, that's right. But do we still see farmers employing these methods? Not really. Traditional methods of irrigation have now been replaced with modern methods of irrigation. The first modern method of irrigation is the sprinkler irrigation. The name itself is self-explanatory. In this method, water is sprinkled onto the crops. As opposed to pouring buckets of water, sprinklers save a lot of water. This is the first reason why modern methods are more efficient than the traditional ones. Let us now see how sprinklers work. Long perpendicular pipes are fitted on the ground at specific distances, and these pipes have a rotating nozzle at the top end. The nozzle has tiny pores that allow water drops to be pushed outwards when the nozzle rotates at high speed. Where do these pipes get their water from? Well, horizontal pipes carry water which is pulled with the help of a pump from a well. It could be any other water source as well, and this water is then carried through the pipes. Water is under pressure, and this allows easy ascent and flow of the water. What do the nozzles do? The nozzles then sprinkle the water on the crops. This saves a lot of water as well as human labor. So yes, this process is quite efficient. What about the second type of modern irrigation? It's known as drip irrigation system. As the name suggests, water drips and reaches the plants. The pores in the pipes are situated just near the roots of the plants. This ensures that no water is wasted. This is the most efficient system of irrigation. Water can thus be used judiciously. So, which methods would you favor? I'm sure the modern ones, and for all the right reasons. In our next video, we will look at the idea of weeding. Do you know weeds are unwanted?
Okay, so as I had already described, so irrigation is now done with the help of modern methods of irrigation only. Now, coming to the next part, that is protection from weeds. So, what are weeds? Weeds are the unwanted plants that grow along with the main crop. And why is it necessary to remove those weeds? Obviously, that weeds will take up the nutrients which are otherwise meant for the crop to grow. So, and they will compete for space and other resources from the soil also. That is why it is better that we remove them, and this process of removing weeds from the field is known as weeding. See, the weedicides are also the chemicals which are used as spray which actually kill the weeds. The weed plants are killed with the help of such chemicals. Now we will watch another video how weeding is carried out and the crops are protected from the weeds.
harsh weather, insects, pests, and what else? Weeds. That's right. Weeds are harmful plants that grow alongside the crops. Why are weeds considered to be a threat? It's because these plants too have roots which take up the nutrients from the soil and they compete for sunlight and water. This could seriously damage the crops, leaving them with little or no nutrients at all. So, how do farmers get rid of these plants? Farmers usually remove all weeds in the initial stage of soil preparation. While tilling the soil, almost all weeds are uprooted and their remains serve as humus to the soil. However, if these weeds grow after the crop is sown, they need to be removed manually. This can be done with bare hands or with medicines which kill these plants. Wait, what do I mean by medicines? Won't these medicines damage the crop? Well, these are known as weedicides and are designed to only kill weeds. These chemicals are diluted using water and then spread over the farms. Farmers also use implements like a khurpi or a seed drill to uproot weeds. Now tell me, can weeds be removed anytime? Or should we destroy them before a particular time? Yes, weeds should be uprooted before they produce flowers and seeds. Weedicides too should be sprayed before they flower. But extreme caution must be maintained while spraying these chemicals. Can you guess why? Well, these chemicals can prove harmful even to the farmers. And that is why you see farmers covering their nose and mouths with a piece of cloth while spraying these chemicals. Now that you've studied about crop protection against weeds, let us study the second last stage of crop production. The stage where the crop has matured after a span of 3 to 4 months. It's the harvest time. And what does it exactly mean? Harvest the crop simply means to cut the crop after it has matured. Do you think it's as easy as it sounds? Of course not. Harvesting of crops, if done manually, is done with a sickle. If a machine is used to harvest crops, it is usually the harvester. Crops are either pulled out or cut close to the ground. Once the crop is harvested, it needs to be threshed. What do I mean by threshed? The grains need to be separated from the stalks. Threshing is the next step after harvesting and is carried out manually. However, even machines called threshers are employed for this nowadays. In certain cases, farmers use a combination of harvester and thresher, a machine called combine. The machinery can carry out the process of harvesting and threshing together. Threshing is usually the beating of stalks on a surface that separates the grains from the stalks. Now the grains have yet another covering before they can be finally stored. That is the chaff. Chaff is then separated by a process called winnowing. In this process, small farmers manually separate the chaff from grains with the help of the wind. Grains are dropped down from a height and the wind carries away the chaff while the grains, being heavier, get collected into a heap. So, with the 3 processes of harvesting, threshing and winnowing, grains are now ready for storage. Do you think storage of grains involves a lot of work? We will soon find that out in our next video.
So therefore, we have already understood the 2 stages together. One is the weeding and next is the harvesting, right? So spraying of weedicides, you must have seen, see they are using agribot, means the any type of robotic system which help or assist in any of the processes of agriculture is known as agribot. So it can be done manually, that is you can see spraying of weedicides by a person and or with the help of agribot also. In this the danger to a person is limited. Now the next step is the harvesting, that means cutting of the crop after it is mature, and it can be as told in the video also, either it can be uprooted or it can be cut very close to the ground with the help of agricultural implements like sickle or with the help of machines such as harvester or combine. So, in case of harvester, it only harvests the crop from the field, and in case of combine, it is a harvester as well as a thresher. Threshing means that separating the grains from the stalks of the crop. So, only we need the crop or the actual grains. So, when we separate that, it is known as threshing. Threshing also can be done either manually or it can be done by the machine called the thresher or the combine machine. So, the same thing, first the crop is harvested either manually or with the help of the machine. In the next stage, it is threshed and the grains are separated from the stalk, and in the last stage, it is then separated from the chaff with the help of winnowing, or nowadays also there are other machines also which help in this process as well, that is the winnowing process, in which the outer chaff will be removed from all the grains and only the grains of the crops will be obtained. This is how a combine machine looks like. It will cut the crop as well as it will help in threshing, and it will on one hand cut the crop and on the other hand it will separate the grains from the whole plant body or the stalk. Now, whenever we have this harvesting season, then it is celebrated in India, because harvesting is a symbol of that all the labor that you have put in for so many months in agriculture, they have finally bore the fruit of your labor. So, that is why harvesting of good crops means you are successful to grow the you have become very successful to grow good crops. So, that is why it is celebrated, and it is actually the Sankranti, that means the last day of the month, which is chosen to celebrate this festival. Now, storage of crop. So, basically when crops are harvested in large quantity, so they are not utilized all of them at a same time. So, there should be storage also for future use and retrieval. In that case, we need to keep in mind how the crops should be stored so that the quality of the crops can be maintained for a long duration of time till they are utilized for their consumption. So, the next stage or the last stage of the agricultural practice, it is also very important, known as the storage of crops. Now, the crops are very much vulnerable to the damage caused by the microorganisms as well as the pests such as insects, rats, as well as the weather conditions. If particular in the monsoon season, so whenever there will be moisture, so microorganisms will grow and destroy the crops. Then the pests are there who will actually destroy them. So, there are a lot of agents for destruction of crops. So, it is very vital to store them properly, away from the moisture, then away from the insects and pests, and away from the microorganisms. So, this is you can see in the picture also, here the insects are destroying the crops, making them hollow and damaged, and here rats, they are also there which are destroying the crops. Now, we will check how storage of grains is carried out in this video.
Therefore, grains must be dried properly before storing them. Insects, pests, rodents and microorganisms can also prove a danger to stored grains. How can we avoid these threats? For that, we need to know where exactly are the grains stored. Farmers usually store their grains in jute sacks or metallic bins. Small farmers use local methods to keep these grains safe. For example, dried leaves of the neem tree are used. These act as natural insect repellents. What about huge quantities of grains? Where do you think they are stored? Well, large quantities of grains are stored in silos or granaries. What are silos? Silos can look different depending on the location. In cities, silos are these tall towers, while they are pits in small farms. In huge structures like these, grains are protected from pests and bacteria by spraying chemicals in them. Specific chemical treatments can help prevent a huge amount of this grain from damage. With this, we have completed the idea of crop production and management. However, there is one question left. Do we depend only on plants for food? Or do farms also have animals that provide us with food? Yes, of course. Just like plants, farmers also have cattle that provide us with milk, eggs, meat and many other products. Just as plants need a lot of care and protection, animals do need the same. Cattle rearing involves many activities. They do need to be protected from harsh weather, diseases and other threats. Their shelters have to be cleaned regularly. Vaccination against various diseases is also an important part of animal rearing. What do we call this large-scale animal rearing? We call it animal husbandry. Rearing of fish, bees and silkworms also are other forms of animal rearing. We will learn more about it in higher grades.
So, along with storage of grains, we have understood that they are stored, either you can see in the godowns where large number of the jute bags are stacked one after another, and in silos where they are protected from the insects, rodents and the microorganisms with the help of chemical treatments. Now for vegetables also, fruits also, there are cold storages so that microorganisms cannot grow and these perishable items can stay intact for months to go. So now we will move to the last section, that is animal husbandry. You have already seen in the video that what is animal husbandry. Animal husbandry means taking care or rearing of such animals for their commercial use, for getting milk, meat, eggs and all these things. Okay, so therefore what type of animals do we commonly rear? They are the goats, then the cattle, then the hen, then fish, then we have got the honeybees for honey and lot more. So these animals and insects, they are very useful to us for our day to day life. They help us with the products that they produce. Now under animal husbandry, see the pictures, these are the honeybees. Is this known as, this is the fish, right? This is known as the fish. Rearing of fish for their commercial use as meat, right? This is known as aquaculture. Or more specifically pisciculture, because the scientific name of the fish category is Pisces. So pisciculture. And aquaculture includes not only pisciculture but rearing of the crabs, then the snails, then the lobsters and lot more. Okay. So, aquaculture is a broad umbrella term which includes pisciculture plus rearing of the crabs, snails, lobsters, all these things, and pisciculture particularly relates to the rearing of fish, and this is is known as poultry farming. Okay. And in case of the cows, this is cattle rearing. They are reared for milk, for their labor in the agricultural field, okay, and in some cases for the meat also. Okay. Now, in case of animal husbandry, there are 4 main steps. There are 4 main steps. What are they? We will have a look. They are known as, firstly, breeding, then we have weeding, feeding, breeding, feeding, weeding and heeding. These are the 4 main steps of animal husbandry. What do you understand by breeding? Breeding means that good quality of animals are bred by the technique of hybridization. That means by breeding one animal with other variety. That is how, so that the good qualities of both the varieties are obtained in a single animal. So, that is what breeding means. Then what do you mean by weeding? Weeding means separation of the sick animals, so that all the animals are not sick at the same time. Therefore, the animals which get ill, they are separated out, treated and then they are taken back. So, that is weeding. Then we have feeding. Feeding is very evident that good quality of fodder should be provided. Good quality of fodder or food should be provided to the animals for their proper nutrition. And last but not the least, heeding. Heeding means housing, proper housing of the animals. As you have already watched in the video, that their place where they are kept should be cleaned on a regular basis, and so that it is free of any animal feces and free of any germs. So, their place where they are kept should be well ventilated, so that they get proper air. So, the place particularly, that the shed where you are keeping them is very important. That is known as proper housing or heeding. So, these are the 4 basic steps of animal husbandry. So, with that we come to the end of this chapter, and here we have concluded both the steps of crop production and management, and along with that we have touched the basic things of animal husbandry. Thank you so much for watching patiently.